Sorry, we're going to call the meeting to order. We have a lot on our agenda tonight, so I appreciate everybody being here. This is a regular scheduled meeting for this is a special meeting for the Board of Aldermen scheduled for June 24th. If you would all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper. Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
Alderman Robertson.
Here.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Toohey.
Here.
Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderman Minister. Here. Alderman Saunders. Here.
Thank you. Next item, consideration and approval of the agenda for the Board of Aldermen meeting for June 24, 2013. I actually have one change, if we could, please. Could we move item 11G, the Excise Commissioner, up to make that, put that between 4 and 5, so we'll call it 4C.
So moved, Your Honor.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor of that change, please, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Now, is there any other changes? We have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. If we move on like this on that, it'll be great. Consideration approval of the minutes from the Special Board of Aldermen meeting for May 20th, 2013. Are there any changes? We have a motion
Move for adoption, Your Honor.
and a second.
Second.
This is the special Board of Aldermen.
Right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, approval of the minutes from the Board of Aldermen meeting for May 20th, 2013. Any changes? Oh, I'm sorry.
I just have a question, just a comment. The minutes are great, they're summarized fine. The only thing I have a little bit of concern about is summarizing the statements made by the public, by the residents. And if all of them were basically on that exact topic, then that's fine, combining them. But I think if they take the time to come to the meeting and go to the podium, that we should represent their statements. At least, like if they agreed in that, say that. But then if there's another point that any of them brought up, that we should at least try to represent what they said. I don't have time to go back through the minutes and listen to all of their comments and write word for word. And maybe that is the correct summary, but I just want to be careful about that moving forward.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Alderman Lee.
On page 4, under Board Appointments, I made the request for copies of the statements and cost and interest from the Ace Hardware Home Depot area is what we were discussing. Those copies, can I still make the request to receive such?
Okay.
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted, Your Honor.
Okay. We haven't changed, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. I was unfortunately not at this meeting, so I would be absent.
Okay.
Yes.
We felt like you were there.
I was here in spirit.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 4C, George, Excise Commissioner, please.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good evening, Ward and Mayor. First of all, I have two applications for a temporary liquor license, both for September 20th and 21st for the Baden Fest. The first one is the American Legion Golf Mall Post, and the second one is the Brentwood Optimist Club for a wine booth. Their applications are in order, and I recommend their approval.
Okay. And we can take those both together, they're both for
Okay.
Brentwood days.
All right?
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Motion? I'm sorry. Alderman Kramer.
Just a comment, Your Honor. I wanted to exclaim how happy I was seeing the news of these applications. At least one of these applicants came to us some time ago claiming they'd be out of business by the same time, and they are still in business.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved, Your Honor, to approve them.
And second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderman Bannister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The second item on the agenda is, this is the time of year that we approve all the liquor license applications for the balance of 2013 and first half of 2014. If I could take a minute, I just want to make sure that you're all aware of who they are. Let me read them off quickly. American Legion Golf Mall Post, the Mobile Gas Station, Artistic Affairs Catering, Bommarito Wines, Buffalo Wild Wings, a company called Clink, which is your order by phone warehouse, Cost Plus World Market, Deerbergs, Double D Lounge, Frank Papa's, Houlihan's, Hunan Walk, Iona Atlantic Imports, My Lee, O.B. Clark's, Ramon's Macaroni Grill, Schnucks, Sideline Bar and Grill, Spring Hill Suites, the Target Store, Trader Joe's, Twin Oaks Wood-Fired Fair, Walgreens, Whole Foods, and the William K. Bush Brewing Company.
Thank you.
Your Honor, George?
Yes.
Just point of clarification. These renewals are being handled en masse, but they're all different types of renewals. Is that correct?
Yes, you've got restaurants, you've got liquor distributors, you've got retail stores like Walgreens. So yes, they're all combined.
And the Bush is a manufacturing or
Right.
tasting, testing.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion, please.
Motion to approve as proposed, Your Honor.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, item 5, presentation and recognitions. We have a presentation this evening by our auditors and for our 2012 capital report.
Good evening. My name is Jim Torrey. I'm with Showalter and Jabouri. We conducted the audit of the city's financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2012. With me tonight, I have Karen Link, who is our manager on the engagement, and Jennifer Younts, who was our in charge. We met with the Ways and Means Committee last week and presented the results of our audit in detail, and I understand that you've received the reports that resulted from the audit in your packets. So tonight, Karen Link is going to take you through a brief summary of the audit results and ask for any questions that the mayor or the board may have. So with that, I'll turn it over to Karen Link.
Thank you. Good evening. As Jim mentioned, we performed an audit of the city's financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2012. Our responsibility is to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. As he mentioned, we went over in detail with the Ways and Means Committee last week, so I'm just going to give a brief presentation this evening of our results. We have issued an unqualified opinion, which is a clean opinion on the comprehensive annual financial report. It means that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in conformity with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. Under the GASB 34 reporting model, there are two sets of financial statements. One is the government-wide financial statements, and the second is the fund financial statements. On page 12, and you guys don't have to follow along, I'm just going to go along at a high level. I just want to kind of give you a page references. Page 12 of the comprehensive annual financial report begins the government-wide financial statements, which presents the financial condition of the city as a whole. All assets and liabilities of the city are included, similar to that of a for-profit entity. These financial statements are prepared using the full accrual basis of accounting, so all capital assets and all long-term liabilities of the city are included. As of December 31st, 2012, the government-wide liabilities exceeded its assets by approximately $8 million, which is an increase of approximately $8 million from 2011. The city's unrestricted net position includes tax increment financing debt outstanding for capital assets that are not actually owned by the city. So that makes the unrestricted net position be a deficit. So as that TIF debt is paid down, the net position should increase. The government-wide financial statements include a statement of activities which begin on page 13. This presents the direct expenses and program revenues for each function of the city's activities, and the net amount shows the extent to which the function is self-financing or draws from the general revenues of the city. Then the other set of the financial statements are referred to as the fund financial statements, which begin on page 14. And those are prepared on the modified accrual basis of accounting using a current resource measure of focus. And the fund financial statements are prepared using a major fund concept. Each major fund is shown in a separate column, and major funds are determined based on a mathematical computation, and the remaining non-major funds are grouped together and shown in one column. And in the back of the report, in a section called supplementary information, there's detail about what makes up that total column. The city's governmental funds ended with a total fund balance of approximately $13 million, which is an increase of approximately $2 million from 2011. Unassigned fund balance was approximately $1.3 million, or 13% of general fund expenditures. And because of the two differences in the basis of accounting between the two sets of statements, there are reconciliations provided on page 15 and 17 that reconcile the two statements. The notes to the financial statements begin on page 20, and they describe the significant accounting policies used by the city and provide additional information that is useful to better understand the financial statements. In addition to the financial statements, we have also issued a report titled Report on Internal Control Related Matters and Advisory Comments. This is where we provide our required communication related to internal control related matters and give our comments and suggestions for strengthening internal control and operating efficiency. In that report, management's responses to our suggestions are included. We have also provided a follow-up to the status of the prior year recommendations. Professional standards require we place our comments into three categories. There's material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, and control deficiencies. We are pleased to report that we identified no material weaknesses. However, we did identify significant deficiencies and control deficiencies, which, again, we went over in detail last week, so we weren't really planning on doing that unless it's requested. Then the final report provided to you is the report to the Board of Aldermen, which provides various communications as required by professional standards. And we would like to thank the city staff for their hard work and the dedication that went in to preparing the comprehensive annual financial report and all the courtesies that were extended during our audit. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have or go over any of the reports in more detail. Yes, sir.
Was it GASB that changed the keeping track of our assets and liabilities a few years ago when we had to start including the TIFs in our would it? Yes. Is it appropriate? Could we put a footnote at the bottom what that calculation would be without those, just as a note to the audit? Again, the primary reason for that is those aren't technically liabilities of the city, or they are not liabilities of the city. It's not technical; they're not. And yet we have to carry those on our books. Could we do that as a footnote or not?
I don't know if you could or not. I mean, we'd have to consider it, but even though they're special they're limited obligations or special obligations of the city. GASB still considers that, and they still acknowledge that, and they still want them to be included, so.
But I just think it's good for people to see the difference there too. You know, again, without those in there, our assets are higher than our liabilities.
Right.
Right, so, I'm sorry. So, that's why I was asking if it was appropriate or not. Is that something we could do, so.
We would have to have discussions and consider it for
Okay.
future
And
reporting.
again, I just want a footnote with the calculation. That's fine.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'll make a comment, Your Honor, if I could.
Alderman Kramer?
I just wanted to thank Jim, Karen, and Jennifer again. We had a very thorough and detailed presentation at the Ways and Means Committee meeting over at City Hall just a handful of days ago, and I was immensely encouraged by the level of detail and the amount of depth of recommendation and the type of I guess, coverage that we received in this report. And I look forward to more great work from you. And just as a footnote to the residents, there was a great amount of recommendation, once again, that came out of this audit. Normally, the Ways and Means Committee would not have seen it at this juncture. We requested last year to have this happen, and it gave us an opportunity to examine, ask questions before it's actually published as a final report. The recommendations, the suggestions, and the findings in this report are going to be very important to the city going forward as we continue to implement our upgrades, our changes, and our corrections to procedures that may not have been as adherent in the past or possibly ignored. And so, once again, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here and for the report.
Thank you.
Alderman Sanders?
Can I ask you the revenues on page 41, the intergovernmental revenues? What is that exactly?
Well, there's various things that goes into that, but.
Is that transferring between?
And just going off the top of my head, like I don't have the detail in front of me, but this would be any grants that the city would receive from any other government agency, or would also be any reimbursements they receive from any of the TIF districts.
Okay, so that's outside. And then on page 56, the transfer out of the capital fund, do you know what that, like then is that transferred into another fund?
Yes, there is a footnote on the transfers that show them going out of the one fund and into the respective fund.
Okay, I think I saw that on another one. Bola, why would that, or do you know
Page
why that
37.
fund? Yeah, page 37. So why out of capital improvement funds, then we put about 500,000 into the general fund? Why is that? What do we?
The transfer from the capital?
From capital fund into the general fund of about 490,142.
It could have been a
I can't
payment.
come up with that right off. Do you know?
It actually went into a non-major fund. It didn't go into the general fund at the bottom of.
Gina might be able to answer that.
Well, okay, number 9, interfund capital improvements to the general fund. You see that?
I'm not aware of any transfers to the general fund, but the capital improvement transfer is the transfer that we make to the debt service fund to pay the COP debt.
Okay, so is that incorrect, or is that part of the general fund?
The top part of page 37 is referring to the interfund receivables and payables. It's a balance sheet item. The bottom part of page 37 is referring to the interfund transactions that go transfers in and out. So they're
Two different.
two different things. Footnote 9 is the balance sheet piece, and footnote 10
Okay,
is
but-
the income statement piece, and page
Okay.
56 is referring to the income statement piece.
Okay, so in that, we're saying that the general fund owes the capital improvement fund 490,000?
It didn't go into the general fund. It went into the debt service,
I'm just trying
the
to...
transfer.
Not relating to the $728,000 transfer, but the general fund, looks like the general fund does owe the capital
Oh.
improvement fund $490,000.
Okay.
Okay. And the general fund then also owes another $495,000 to the tax increment financing district fund.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Are we going to go over the internal controls report? The report on the internal controls and the deficiencies?
Well, I thought you were going to do that, you had done that at the committee level?
Well, for the residents that are present.
Well, I didn't know we were going to do that entire, is that something, we want to go over that entire report?
Just briefly, I mean, highlight the items. We said we were going to do that at Ways and Means.
What's the level of highlighting, I guess?
Well, do they have a copy of the report?
No.
I mean, it's going to end up being a public document, and we've already had internal controls read to the
This
public.
is the draft.
I guess I see a lot of double up with what the state auditors just did.
This is no longer the draft, Alderman Kramer. We reviewed, it has to go June 30th to the GFOA. Are we going to be making changes? I thought we agreed, do we have to go back to Ways and Means with this?
No. Well,
My understanding is this is still the draft until we receive the final copy.
This is the final draft. We have done our subsequent event work. We have management's approval of the reports. Just between the time of the Ways and Means Committee meeting last week and this week, we were not able to produce the final reports, and so they are in our office. You know, they will be out this week.
So they're final.
Yes.
and as soon as we get it, we'll put all of that on the internet, on our website. I mean, I just think we have an awful lot on our agenda tonight to go through that. I mean, we have a number of bills, so I would prefer that we hold that off maybe to the next meeting if we want to discuss it in a meeting. Okay.
I move that we briefly review the internal controls report related to the December 31st, 2012 audit.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion is made to go over the internal controls. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen?
No.
Alderman Robertson?
No.
Alderman Kramer?
No.
Alderman Tui?
No.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we have a public hearing for the 2014 Community Development Block Grant.
Ellen.
There she is.
Yes, hello. We opened the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant on the 2014 application on Monday, June 17th at 7 o'clock. The attendees, we only had one. Alderman Leahy attended. Thank you very much, Alderman.
Our pleasure.
And so that there were no comments taken, but we did continue the public hearing at 7:05 to ensure that if there are any present this evening who wanted to make any comments or ask questions, they would have that opportunity. I've left copies of the public hearing handout on the table in the back, and if anyone is here to, because of the public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Program, if you could please sign in before you leave, that would be great. The sign-in sheet is on the back table also. For the past 6 years that I've been here, the city has used its $20,000 annual allocation for the home improvement program. This allows for 100% forgivable loans in increments of $5,000 each to qualifying residents and to do home improvements such as new roofs, windows, HVAC, even dead tree removal, siding, and we've had very good response from residents, and each year the funds have all been used. In fact, I understand right now there is a waiting list for the next year. So,
And the estimate for next year or this year is?
$20,000. It'll be a $20,000 allocation. So staff's recommendation is that we continue with the home improvement program and place that in our application. And I think we would need a motion to that effect to allocate the funds this year for the home improvement program.
And again, as a point of clarification for the residents, that program, once allocated the funds, that is handled through St. Louis County. They do the paperwork and then the analysis, and then come in and do the inspections and so forth. But Alderman Saunders?
I'll make the motion that we go ahead and allocate the funds, the $20,000 for the community improvement. And can I also add, we did this last year, I don't know if I have to renew it, but the permits associated, that the city waived the permit fees associated with the projects that are funded by the community grant.
Yes.
Second the motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Ellen, don't go anywhere. I'm going to embarrass you real quick. I just want to say, for the people in the audience that don't know, Ellen recently had a new baby girl. And after coming back to work and some angst and pains and trying to make up her decision, Ellen has decided now that she's going to stay home with her baby. And she has will be leaving the city of Brentwood. I just want to say that you've done an outstanding job for the city, and I appreciate everything you did.
Well, thank you very much. If I could just say really quickly that it's been my pleasure to serve over the last 6.5 years, and I just really appreciate all the opportunities that working for Brentwood has given me, so thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Can you get a copy of those minutes if you want? Okay, next item, bids. We have 3 this evening. Go ahead.
I'll start. We have 3 bids this evening. The first one is the Executive Walk Apartments. 9 bids were received for the demolition of the 5 Executive Walk apartment buildings. Quickly read them. First was from Marshall Wrecking, Pride Master Inc., Spiritus Wrecking Company, Buskin Construction Company. After further review of the bid documents that were submitted by all 4
No,
firms.
there are 9. It's the back of the page.
There's 9.
All 9. Staff determined that the low bidder, which was Marshall Wrecking, failed to include what is called a sampling protocol that would have allowed them to do additional testing on the drywall to ensure that there was no residual from the asbestos, and that would have cost an additional $100,000. Therefore, the low bidder is Pride Master Inc. at $233,649.84. You round that up to $233,600.
Okay. And that's well under the funds that are available through MSD for this.
Right, there was a total of $500,000. I think 2 meetings ago, I indicated that we had spent up to $10,000, but that figure is more like $12,000, I believe.
So we'll be reimbursed for that.
It will, all of it will be reimbursed.
Right. Any questions? Okay. Next bid?
The next bid is the asphalt projects bid. The city received bids for the City of Brentwood asphalt projects. There are a total of 3 streets: Lawndale Drive, Brentwood Place, Helen Avenue, and Maple Trail. The low bid was submitted by Krupp Construction in the amount of $126,611.15. The second low bid submitted by West Contracting was for $126,845.13, a difference of $233.98. Division 4 in the city's municipal code under purchasing allows the Board of Aldermen to, at their discretion, if there is a local business whose bid amount is within 3% of the lowest responsible bid, to waive that and award it to the local business, provided that they've paid all their taxes in over a 3-year period. And when you calculate the percentage difference between those two, it's 0.18. So staff recommends that the bid be awarded to West Contracting, and there was an affirmative recommendation from the Public Works Committee.
Okay, thank you. And item C.
The third item is the park signage project. The city held a bid opening for the park signage project that consists of 43 park signs located in Memorial Park, Hanley Park, Broughton Park, and Rogers Park. The low bid, well, the bids submitted were from Graphics Architectural Signage, $29,687, Summit Sign and Graphics, $27,319.40, Signorama, $22,361, and Star Signs LLC at $27,940. When staff presented this to the Public Works Committee, the request was made that we be allowed a contingency of $1,565 for change orders in the event any unexpected construction cost that's not covered in the scope of work were to arise. So when you add all of that up, it's $23,926, and they are still the low bid. So Public Works Committee recommends that the bid be awarded to Signorama.
Okay. And those ordinances are on the seat.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Next item, item 8, hearing of any matters of public interest upon persons present. If anybody would like to address the Board of Aldermen, please come forward and give us your name and address.
Hi, I'm Kay Scott Boyd, and I live on Moritz Avenue. I have, and the whole reason I came to the meeting tonight was about the audit that was done. And so it was kind of frustrating that we weren't given a lot of information. But the one thing that I had a major question about and would really like an answer to is that Alderman Kramer was saying that there was a great amount of information and recommendations from this report. My issue is that according to the audit from the state, that you all have been given recommendations multiple times by the companies that gave the audit, but they were never followed through with. So my request is, as a taxpayer, and I would guess probably everybody else in this room would agree, that we would like to know when you're going to accept the recommendations or give the recommendations, what you're doing with them, and if you're not going to accept the recommendations, I think we all have a right to know why. So that's my statement, and I think it's real reasonable. Thank you.
My name's Denise Sebbing, and I live on Porter. And first of all, Maureen, thank you. I appreciate your comments about accurately recording the residents' comments, because you're right. It does take a lot of courage. It takes a lot of moxie in some cases to come up and sit here and talk to people where sometimes they're rolling their eyes when you're talking to them and making statements. While you may not agree with our statements, they are our right to make these statements. And I appreciate what you just said, ma'am, because it's true. You know, we have all heard that all the audits and the recommendations, but we haven't gotten any feedback on what you're planning to do on those recommendations. And as residents, we deserve that. Secondly, I'd also want to say I greatly appreciate Eric's comment that he works for the residents, the alderman, and the mayor in that order. I would suggest that some, and not all, and I put Ellen in that not all, she's done a fabulous job. Some of the folks that are working at City Hall be reminded of this fact that they do work for the residents as well. And especially when it comes to answering the phones and returning phone calls to the residents, especially when there are things that we're asking for updates for. I don't think it's appropriate that the residents have to keep calling, and then when they are calling, being told that you call too much, even though when you call, the phone's not being answered, being told that while I'm providing the messages to people, but the messages aren't being responded to. So, you know, I think maybe we need a little bit of customer service training at some of the folks in City Hall. Not all. There's a lot of really good folks there too, but some of them need a little bit of help. Finally, the card, I think that's a great idea, but I think sometimes residents get tired of being asked our opinions, and when we provide those opinions, our opinions are being ignored. You know, we have made suggestions about, trying to clear up the gravel so people can walk down the streets and the sidewalks along Manchester. And I'm being told, well, that's not our responsibility. That's the responsibility of MoDOT or whatever. We have street sweeping equipment. We have done street sweeping in the fall. These are little things, but they go a long way. Maybe we don't have a lot of money to do other things, but making sure crosswalks are painted so people can walk, making sure the rocks are cleaned up from the streets and the sidewalks. Doesn't take a whole lot of money to do that, but it goes a long way, and people can walk in our community. In addition to the marketing survey that you're proposing tonight, I think that's a great idea, but I would like to suggest maybe a 360 input from the residents on some of the folks here in the city, because a lot of you folks, you get rated on what you do by your peers. What about what the residents feel and how the residents feel that you're doing for us? The people that are really serving the resident should be rated higher than those who aren't. Thank you.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Move on to introduction of bills. I will address one thing real quick. With respect to the internal controls, and as we move forward, the board did approve at the last meeting. We put out to bid and are evaluating hiring an outside CPA firm, aside from our auditors, to evaluate all of our internal controls and make recommendations on implementing changes to either improve, strengthen, or even add new internal controls to our entire financial process. So that was at our last meeting, that was approved, and I'll talk a little bit more about that under the mayor's report. With respect to Manchester Road, it's been an issue of mine for a long time, going back to when I was an alderman for Ward 3, and it is frustrating. But I will tell you, unfortunately, it's to the point of almost being impractical for the city of Brentwood to go and use our street sweeping equipment along Manchester Road. Two things. One, because of the amount of gravel that's coming in there in different spots along the way, that ruins the equipment that we have. The other thing is our equipment doesn't pick up a lot of the things that are in those swales. And so I know within the last few years, we've had our crews out there actually twice because it got so bad because MoDOT doesn't do anything with it. They actually power hose and used the fire hydrants in order to wash down and try to clean out some of those areas. But it is frustrating. And when we say it's not our responsibility, it doesn't mean that we don't care. But it is very, very expensive in order to make any improvements, and you can't just fix one piece of sidewalk. We've applied for grants. We were turned down for one this year to make improvements along Manchester Road, and that was for a couple $1 million in order to make just what I would call a Band-Aid improvements to that area. But it isn't something that isn't, it is something that the board would like to do something about, but it's just very, very difficult with the different organizations that really control it in finding the money to do it. Introduction. I'm sorry, Alderman Saunders.
Do we know if we're awarded the grant to improve the?
We did not get it for Manchester.
Not for Manchester Road.
Right.
Okay. And then also one other comment, and I do agree, Eric, that you work for the resident mayor and alderman, and this isn't just for you, but it's for all the professionals. You do work for us, which for me, that means, though, that we are relying on your professional judgment and expertise to, especially in the difficult or tough situations, give us your opinion as to whether this is something, more economic viable. If there's not, if there's no information to provide, that's fine. But when it comes down to the tough decisions, we need your professional input. And when I was a controller of the company, the same thing. When I did the budget and that, I supported all of my decisions. I would go to bat, I would fight for them. At the end of the day, I didn't get to make the final decision. But that's what we're looking for. I think to have a really, truly professionally run city, we need the professional opinion and why you support that. Thank you.
Okay. If I gave a motion for the first and second readings of bills number 5758, 5760, 5761, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, and 75. First and second readings only.
Motion.
And second.
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First reading of bill number 5758.
First reading bill number 5758 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Pride Master, Inc. for asbestos abatement and demolition of executive walk apartments and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, if I could just interject here real quick. Once again, we are one of the few municipalities, including St. Louis County themselves, to go out of our way to put together a synopsis of what it is that we're voting on and trying to explain to the residents in somewhat layman's terms what it is that we're about to vote on. This is what the synopsis is all about. It's on the website. We have it in place for every meeting. And for Bill 5758, Executive Walk Apartments, this bill covers an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood and Pride Master Incorporated. That's for the abatement and demolition of the 5 executive walk apartment buildings. The Public Works Committee did review this and recommend the bid to be awarded to Pride Master Incorporated. That was in the amount of $233,600. Once the agreement is approved, staff will issue notice to proceed within 2 days of this approval. The project should be completed in 2 months, depending on weather.
Okay. Any questions?
Alderman
Sanders.
And it is nice that we have this synopsis, and it was the residents that requested this synopsis. Karen Smith for years, and I know I was working on it with her, because we sit out in the audience, and when you don't have the code or the full bills.
It's actually my idea, but that's okay.
We know that you completed the work because you were on the board. We weren't, but it was requested by the residents, and I probably could go back and find the minutes. But I just wanted to thank, once again, it was a great idea by the residents.
Second reading, please.
Second reading bill number 5758 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Pride Master, Inc. for asbestos abatement and demolition of executive walk apartments and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Any questions? Motion, please.
Your Honor.
Alderman Leahy.
Motion to approve Bill 5758 into ordinance form, along with a note to the Norm West Group, thanking them for allowing access to the property with the heavy equipment.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5758 is now ordinance number 4432.
Thank you.
First reading bill number 5760, please.
First reading bill number 5760 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the installation of 1 additional fire hydrant.
Please.
Yes, Your Honor. Bill 5760 is to approve an installation of a fire hydrant. This is at 5 Middlesex Avenue. Currently, no hydrant is close by. It's part of another project that is been overseen by the Public Safety Committee and our Public Safety Committee Chief of the Fire Department.
Great, thank you.
Your Honor.
Alderman Leahy.
Is there a cost to the city for putting this hydrant in?
It's already been installed, Chief Jury.
And was this cost in this year's budget?
There is no cost for the hydrant. The water company will put them in at our request when they're doing digging or working in the area.
Thank you, sir.
May I ask them why we need an ordinance? I mean, that's not, I just...
We already have an ordinance that lists all the different
Just
places.
to list it as one.
Where
Fire
the
hydrant.
fire
Okay.
hydrants
All right, that's
exist, and this is an
The
additional one.
water company requires an ordinance.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Second reading?
Yep, second reading, please.
Second reading bill number 5760 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the installation of 1 additional fire hydrant in the City of Brentwood.
Motion, please.
Your Honor, motion to approve Bill 5760 into ordinance form, please.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Second.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderman Manister.
Yes.
Alderman Saunders.
Yes. Yes.
Your Honor, again, if I may,
Alderman Leahy.
I'd love to have the city, on city letterhead, send a letter to American Water Company thanking them for getting it done for us and picking up the bill for putting this in. I assume it does influence the insurance codes when the hydrants are closer to the properties.
Yes.
Maybe that's why they overbilled everybody last month.
Oh, God, tell me they didn't.
Check your bill.
I didn't see anything high on mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Bill number 5760 is now ordinance number 4433.
Thank you.
Okay. First reading of bill number 5761, please.
First reading bill number 5761 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into an agreement with KB Consulting for the management of a competitive market assessment.
Can we do synopsis first?
Oh, sure.
Synopsis, please.
Oh, forgot about it.
Your Honor, Bill 5761, Management of Competitive Market Assessment, covers an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Brentwood and/or the city administrator to approve an agreement with Dr. Kenneth R. Bottoms for the management of competitive market assessment. Staff City of Brentwood was authorized to issue a request for proposals for comprehensive compensation study, that to obtain more information about the actual cost of conducting such a study. Dr. Kenneth R. Bottoms is offered to assist with the development of the RFP, to review bids submitted, and to analyze the results for a discounted rate. Ways and Means Committee has reviewed Dr. Bottoms' proposal, agreed to forward this to the full Board of Aldermen with their positive recommendation.
Okay. Alderman Saunders?
Yes, and the Ways and Means recommendation was positive. It was 2-1. My concern with this is the compensation survey. We voted at the April 1st Board of Aldermen meeting that we would go out for the RFP. And it's now June 24th, and we still haven't sent out the RFP for the compensation survey. We can use neighboring municipalities. I know the Pozos have called Clayton, asked about their competitive market assessment. They couldn't be more helpful to just a resident from another community. So we can reach out to other communities to obtain their RFPs. The Municipal League has forms and stuff on their website. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a delay in the process. We need this information for hiring new people and also when budgets come around. And I don't think, even though the cost is only capped at $2,500, it's an unnecessary cost. And back in October 2012, Julie Eccles had said that professional firms evaluate every job. They make sure the description matches what matches jobs are in the right place externally in the market to ensure we are being competitive and present their findings. Members agreed this is a good reference tool and a great launching pad. Alderwoman Saunders asked Eccles' professional opinion on the merits of doing a compensation survey. Eccles replied that she has been through the process before. Once the foundation is in place, all you have to do is compare yourself, but ongoing maintenance may be needed. For morale and recruitment purposes, it may be useful because you know internally that you're being fair and externally you are giving the taxpayer the maximum amount of service for their bucks. So again, I just find this troublesome that it's taken this long. I think we should already be looking at the bids, and the same with now we're going to do time cards because the state said to do them. We had the time clock procedures were written up and drafted December 12th, 2011. We also had the financial software that we were going in with other municipalities. And I just learned that we're not going to be purchasing the new software because we didn't have the money. And this software, the software we have is dated. It's not very integrated. And the other municipalities are going ahead purchasing new software, but these are critical things. I mean, it's examples of delays and decisions that we need to be able to have our professionals make and do and move forward.
Well, I would agree with some of the things that you say, but I think in order to move forward on any of these things, it takes an initiative by the Board of Aldermen. the staff is not allowed to just go out and spend money on a consultant or do whatever without approval of the board. You were just saying a few minutes ago that you expect our professionals to make recommendations to us and how they think it's best to proceed, and staff has decided that they would like this help in order to put this RFP together so that we can get the right consultant in here. So, you know, these are the processes it takes, but at the end of the day, it's up to the Board of Aldermen to do something. The staff isn't going to go out and purchase new financial software. It's going to have to be the Board of Aldermen that's going to have to evaluate and then determine whether we're going to fund that or not.
The thing is, we gave them permission to do the RFP April 1st.
No, we said we were going to do the
No, we
RFP.
voted. You want me to read you? I brought.
No, that's fine. Even if we did, again, a lot of things have been going on in the city, and staff only has a certain amount of time. I don't know that the board said that there was a time frame on it.
The problem is that that's getting old, that there's a lot going on. And, you know, now we're hiring an internal controls person to come and help us. We either we don't have the adequate staff to do what we need to be doing, and we don't have the money to hire staff. It's just getting old. And like the financial statement, the software update, they said we couldn't fund it. It was on the list. It was not on the budget list of items we can't fund. And I mean, here I have back in February.
But no decision was ever made to even...
we were told that they were negotiating, and it says here in the minutes with the other cities.
That is not correct.
No,
Okay.
they were
Gina
meeting
comments.
with...
We were participating with other municipalities, researching which other software company could be hired. Going into that process, the city knew, we knew, Gina and I knew, that we were not embarking on budgeting for a new software this year or last year. That was never our intent. We knew other cities were moving further ahead than us. So you just said, Alderwoman Saunders, that it was not on the list. That's correct. We never anticipated funding that this year.
But the indication, what I'm saying from the February meeting, is that we were meeting them, it would be cost effective for us to group, and I was under the impression you were moving forward with that. So we didn't tell you to stop doing that, so are you saying?
And we never told the alderman that we were proposing moving forward with that either. Gina, am I mischaracterizing that?
Well, I don't want to, it's not worth mincing words, it's just a great opportunity that's lost. They put out the RFP, and Gina said that they're in the process now, and our software, I hope maybe Alderman Toohey, it is dated, it's not integrated, and that's what you say here. Certain things that should normally post to the journal and update our financials don't happen. You have to write journal entries. You know, it's pretty dated software, and they're not developing it anymore.
Our discussion regarding the financial software has been, there's many facets to it. An implementation is a huge project. Takes a lot of time to implement a financial software if you've been through that process. And if you don't implement it effectively, it can really be detrimental to the organization. So you want to make sure that you're fully prepared, fully staffed, your staff is completely up to speed, which I feel like I am just now getting to that point. I mean, when we were talking about going out for an RFP with all the other cities, I think I had been here maybe 6 months. And so I was in no position to implement a new software at that point. We put our name in, we agreed to put our name with the other cities so that we, at the point that we decide we're ready to implement financial software, we could possibly take advantage of the pricing that we might get as a group. But there was no intent for that to happen in, certainly in the 2 years that, you know, I'm just trying to kind of keep up and make sure everything's running smoothly. We certainly have been involved in multiple audits. We have a budget to prepare. You know, all of these things have to be planned and scheduled. We're trying to get ADP up and running. That's not going very smoothly. So I guess from my perspective, I do hope that you will take our professional opinion about how these things happen. And we're certainly, doing the best we can and also keeping up with our daily operations.
So is there a reason then, like the time clock procedures and issues we have from from 2011, why they were just dropped, or between that it took now to get ADP back on board, or what happened in that time frame?
We signed the agreement with ADP, I think, toward the end of 2012. So, I'm sorry.
11.
The contract was in 11.
Yes.
We went forward with that contract toward the end of 2012. So really, there wasn't a whole lot that happened in that first year because I was just getting started.
And really, we're on actually a different ordinance, a completely different subject, so.
I know, I'm just saying that under the impression I got that the RFP would go out shortly after April 1st, and now we're going to hire a consultant to help us think.
It typically would,
Right.
but many times as we get authorization from the different committees, and then we go back to the office and start the discussion, we realize that we have an additional piece of information. Therefore, we feel an obligation to present it to the Board of Aldermen. I'll give you a good example. At Public Works, there was an approval to make amendments to the sewer lateral policy. In the last week, additional information has been presented. I feel I have an obligation, staff has an obligation to present that to Public Works before we bring that ordinance to the board. If we don't do things like that, we're bringing back the same items multiple times. It's not a good use of your time. This is similar to that.
Okay, but I just didn't see it in the city administrator report until like May 17th. So between April 1st and May 17th, we just were sitting on going out for the
No,
RFP?
we met with Dr. Bottoms. We talked how best to present that to the board, and that's exactly what we did.
And I think too, that, you know, the other key factor, if I remember this correctly, is that we said we would put this out to bid, but we haven't even allocated the funds for this yet. We wanted to get an idea of what this was going to cost because it wasn't something that was in the budget for this year.
Correct. And the Ways and Means really does not start to deliberate on the budget until October. We're in June, and we believe that the turnaround could be 3-4 weeks. So we have ample time to present this to Ways and Means for discussion. Rest assured, you will have ample time to do that.
Yeah, the only concern I have, and as long as the city administrator report, and it's been very thorough, so I'm not, you know what I mean, but sometimes it feels like all of the aldermen are not being brought along at the same time. So if those decisions, do you know what I mean, like the software not being at least pushed forward for an ask.
I'll try to do better.
Maybe I misinterpreted the minutes too. So thank you, Paula.
Second reading, oh, I'm sorry.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I just wanted to, from the Ways and Means Committee's point of view, wanted to thank staff and BOLA for bringing something like this to our attention. These are pivotal times. These are important decisions that we're making. You discovered a very important item that's going to aid and assist us in doing a better job with this report guidance. And I'm very glad that you brought it to our attention before we moved earlier. Thank you.
I have one more comment. And I am too, but the thing is I've been arguing to do a compensation survey prior to me even being on the board. And to me, it's unbelievable that the city hasn't performed one prior to this. And so, like the mayor said, just with the recreation survey, we've got to move and we got to get it out. So I just was hoping it was sooner, closer to April 1st. $500 to have someone help us interpret the results.
Okay, second reading, please.
Second reading, bill number 5761 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into an agreement with KB Consulting for the management of a competitive market assessment.
Your Honor, if I may.
Alderman Lay.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll weigh in on this topic, and I'll tell you that I'm voting no against doing the competitive market assessment. 2 reasons. First of all, we're spending more money for surveys. Secondly, the survey is going to come back and tell us that the city of Brentwood is basically in the top 3% across the board in all of its pay, benefits, and services that we provide to our employees, that they provide to the residents. And to do another survey to turn around and confirm what we already know is a waste of money. Secondly, if we do this survey and this board gets these results, what does the board intend to do with these results? Are you going to stop paying your employees and cut it back until they fall back into the mean of everybody else in the state of Missouri? Are you going to sit and cut people's benefits because you found out you're at the top end? I'm not so sure that's going to be the best way to move the city either. So I'm questioning why we're doing this. And for that, I'll vote no against the bill.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve as submitted, Your Honor, Bill 5761.
And second. Second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Toohey?
No.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderman Manister?
No?
Alderman Saunders?
No.
One comment, Alderman Leahy, I agree with you 100%.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And that's very seldom that I can say that.
Agreeing and disagreeing is not a bad thing,
I
sir,
understand.
but I appreciate
That's why
the
I said
compliment.
that. Thank you. First reading of bill number 5762, please.
First reading Bill number 5762 by title only, an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan to install a fence around a fence and sound blanket at property number 2615 Hamley Road, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, Bill 5762 for the watering bowl. This for an ordinance granting approval of the site development plan for installing a fence and sound blanket at a pet care facility located at 2615 South Hamley Road. The applicant's proposing to install a fence along the south side of the property over an existing retaining wall. The fence will include a sound blanket design to mitigate the noise violation that was determined by a sound study conducted by Dr. DeMott of McClure Engineers. Planning and Zoning Subcommittee voted to recommend approval of the application as submitted.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I may.
Alderman Leahy.
I'd like some history on this, if I may ask for it from staff.
Okay.
In the report that we've been given, we have two different times that it has occurred that this property has violated the noise ordinance. At those two times, was any consideration put into the number of dogs that were in the play area for the dogs? And that by reducing the number of dogs, that would eliminate the problem? I hate to do something and force the owner of this building to put in a $9,000 fence to have something further complain back that we still have further noise. So before I say, yeah, let's go do this, I need some help in understanding how we got to this point.
Well, my comment on that would be if that was the solution, he would probably suggest it on his own.
I understand, and I want to know that all of this was taken into full consideration, because to spend $9,000 and have the problem later, I don't think is fair either. So, yeah. So if you could help me out and bring me along.
All right. I'm not super pumped about building this fence either.
Name and address, please.
Sorry. My name's Jeremy King. I own the watering bowl, which is at 2615 South Hanley.
Good evening, Jeremy.
Thanks. I'm doing this. They did do a sound study. Essentially, the problem is not the dogs being outside. It's when we let them outside. And when they first come outside, they come out guns blazing, barking, going generally crazy, which is why, if you look at the study, in those two 30-minute windows, we violated the sound ordinance for about 3 seconds, give or take, according to the engineer. Right, and so for us to limit the number of dogs would require a transition of this group out and back in, and then this group out, which would create that spike more frequently instead of less.
Okay.
And so this is a more permanent solution that we propose just to try to make peace with everybody.
Jeremy, if I can pick on your brain a little bit further. In the report, it also establishes that in order for your potential fence and sound buffering to physically do its job, it has to be in the direct line of sight of your facility down on Hanley Road and where the noise complaint is coming from up at the top of the Porter Hill. So how high am I putting this fence?
It's 10 feet off the ground.
Because the retaining wall is how high?
Well, it steps down, but it's somewhere between 4 feet down to probably 1.5 feet.
So under our code, our fencing is allowed to be only up to 6 feet.
Sorry, technically the fence itself is only a maximum of 6 feet. Well, I guess down at the lower level it's 8.5, because it's built on top of that retaining wall. So, but the dogs are down on the ground level.
Okay.
So the top of the fence is 10 feet from the surface that the dogs are on, but the fence itself is somewhere between 6 and 8 feet tall.
And your experts are telling you that that in itself will help make this problem go away.
Even better, your experts are telling me that.
All right. Our experts said that we didn't have a sound problem on this one also. This is the second study that was done in order to find a problem.
Right.
I
Just keep looking until you find it.
Well, and my problem is I'm asking you to spend another $9,000 to
Wait,
make this all go
do
about.
you have a specific question for the applicant, or
Well,
the?
I want to make sure I understand the whole situation,
Okay.
if I can. So right now, we're looking at $9,000 expenditure.
We're looking at like a $15,000
$15,000
expenditure for the record.
And what type of insurances have they provided you?
Your sound engineer has assured me that this will eliminate any noise violation. It will not necessarily eliminate anyone from the top of the hill saying that they can still hear dogs and being upset about that, but it will make sure that I'm in compliance with the ordinance, which, as far as I understand, is my obligation.
Thank you, sir, for taking the time.
Good?
Ellen, do you have anything to add? Okay.
I did have a question.
Alderman Saunders.
The time frame. When will this fence go up? Do you think if we approve this ordinance, how long will it take to install it?
It shouldn't take long. I had some quotes that I did back when this process started. I'll need to revisit those and get them from some other people, but the sound curtains have to come from a place that told me they can be here in a few weeks, and the install guys at the time were 3 weeks out, so I would assume I can have this done within 30 days. I can't absolutely guarantee that because I'm kind of beholden to them, but give or take.
That would be great. Just, I'm getting some of the complaints.
And just to
if
be,
you don't mind.
Sure.
just to be, one other comment, and you can comment, it would be very clear that when you were initially given approval to go to this location, the issue of sound came up, and we were assured that that would not be an issue. And it has been a violation of our code. So as frustrating as it may be for you, in order to have to build this fence in order to comply with our ordinance, I guess my comment would be it'd be cheaper than moving your business to a different location.
It absolutely would. I'm not sure who gave you the assurance there would be no sound.
I think we did, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Second reading?
Second reading, bill number 5762 by title only, an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan to install a fence and sound blanket at property number 2615 South Hanley Road, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Motion, please?
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to perfect Bill 5762 into ordinance form, please.
I'll second. Oh, sorry. I'll
Motion
second.
is made by Alderman Lay, second by Alderman Saunders. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderman Manister?
Yes.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First reading. Oh, sorry.
4-4.
Bill number 5762 is now ordinance number 4434.
First reading, bill number 5764.
First reading.
I'm sorry, 3.
First reading, bill number 5763 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri approving a First Amendment to redevelopment agreement related to the CLD Brentwood redevelopment area and authorizing certain actions thereto, relating thereto.
Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, guess what? The synopsis is the same as what you just heard.
Okay.
So kudos to our city attorney.
All right. Any questions? Alderman Saunders.
I am not normally one that wants to increase tax incentive, the amount that we've already given a developer, because I think there's risks, there's risk on both sides. We take the risk assuming the project will pay off when they estimate, and the same thing, the developer takes risk too in estimating the cost. But in this instance, in reviewing the redevelopment agreement, it appears to me that planning and zoning requested this, and that it's more a request of the city, more beneficial to the city, and that if we don't move forward, jewelry by the redevelopment agreement is not responsible for moving or burying those lines. And so, as you mentioned at the last meeting, Mayor, there is an opportunity here.
Okay. And I would also like to add that under this development project, the developer, meaning Drury, really is taking risks because we are not issuing bonds on this. They're holding the note. So at the end of the day, they're the ones who are getting paid back. And again, this was something that the city negotiated in the redevelopment agreement. I don't know that came from P&Z because they didn't necessarily negotiate the redevelopment agreement, but that came from the board as one of the, this was an ongoing continuation of what we did at Brentwood Square with the burying of those lines, and it was always the intention of the city to try to have whoever developed that corner or the funding for that corner pay for the cost of burying those lines over Eagle Road. Something that we've tried to work on for a long time. So,
Your Honor?
yes, Alderman Lee.
The way that they anticipate covering this extra $150,000 is on the room tax?
Is that correct, Mark? I see, yes.
And in the time frame that we're dealing with on their redevelopment, that's accomplishable without having to do any other extensions or anything else?
They said they were comfortable with that. And again, they're holding the note, so I don't think they would do it if they weren't comfortable with it. So,
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill Number 5763 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri approving a First Amendment to redevelopment agreement related to the CLD Brentwood redevelopment area and authorizing certain actions relating thereto.
Thank you. Motion, please.
Motion to approve as submitted, Your Honor, Bill 5763.
And second.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion was first by Alderman Kramer, second by Alderman Leahy. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5763 is now ordinance number 4435.
Thank you. First reading of Bill number 5764.
First reading, Bill Number 5764 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Crawford Bunte Braymeyer CDB to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this agreement.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Can we do a synopsis first?
Okay.
Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, this synopsis covers a number of the upcoming bills pursuant to Section 2-462 of the Brentwood Code. Staff undertook and initiated an RFQ, request for qualifications process, to select engineering firms to provide third-party engineering services for the City of Brentwood. The RFQ for hourly rate engineering services was issued in August. 30 firms submitted responses. Following staff's review of the responses, 6 finalists were shortlisted and invited to interview. 5 firms were selected. For the past 3 years, the city has had standing on-call consultation agreements with various firms. Public Works Committee has recommended the approval of Bills 5764 through 5768.
Alderman Lee.
I'd like a clarification for both myself and the audience. In the 5 bills, if you turn to page 1 of 9, 1 of 10, which are the same from the City of Brentwood's Emergency On-Call Services, we are establishing with each of the 5 different firms basically the same criteria. So am I literally asking the 5 firms to be on call and we can pick and choose as we wish something? Or are we going to go with best bid and hourly rates? Because if you get into the last pages of each of their things, the rates are humongously different as to which engineer, project engineer, or survey person you use and all of this. So are we just trying to establish that we have qualified personnel out there? Or should we continue to narrow this down to a firm that covers the services that we're looking for? Because land survey, road, traffic signals, floodplain management, storm management are intertwined between all 5 of them.
I think we're trying to do both.
Thank you. Okay. Now, when we get to the point of needing an engineering service, staff will then pick and choose based on who's available or based on hourly rate or how?
Well, I think what you will find is their expertise, because whereas, I hope nobody's here, from Crawford Bundy Braemeier, I would say their expertise is traffic engineering, although they still do roadwork design and those other kinds of things. And Ellen, you can come up and chime in, that would be great. And some of the other firms you will find that are better at floodplain management and those kinds of things. So I think we want to leave it up to who we think is going to be best qualified for the different project. Ellen?
Well, that's true, because some of the firms have overlapping skill sets, and some we chose specifically so they would fill out the range of engineering service needs that we have. And what we'll require from each firm is a scope of work with a fee proposal for each project they do for the city. And I think to the extent that there are overlapping skill sets, probably what will happen is over time, we'll work more with the firms that give us the better, that we're satisfied with their qualifications, and they also are giving us better either based on the number of hours or on their hourly rate, better pricing as well.
Okay. Is there any chance in working through these 5 and getting, as I get more hours with a specific firm, my base rate gets to go down because I'm contracting more and more with you versus I'm paying what they're quoting as their standard rates? Or is that something against the bidding process since I'm not supposed to be looking at fees up front?
These firms are all qualified based on their skills. We did not request fee proposals as part of the RFQ process.
But as I hire them and use more and more of their hours, should I not be able to ask for a discounted rate for the more hours I'm giving them to work for us? And thus, greater buying power.
We haven't done that in the past specifically, but there are firms that you will not see on this list because we were not satisfied with their ability to work within either a reasonable number of times. There are firms we've worked with that have had lower hourly rates, but they project a greater number of hours to get similar projects done. You just learn after working with firms over a number of years. Some of these we've worked with on grant projects, but we haven't actually used them for city engineering services. So we'll get to, I think, become more familiar with them over time as we continue to work with them, and we'll find out which ones are easier to work with in terms of providing scope of services that meet our needs and also pricing that we deem fair as well. And some of these costs will be forwarded on to applicants. Some of the services will not be paid for directly by the city as well. So, but we like to make sure that our applicants are given fair pricing too.
Agreed, but what I'm looking at is, I'm still looking at, can I whittle my 5 even down to?
This agreement is good for 3 years.
Yes.
And there may be some that we end up not using as much because of whatever reason we don't feel it's comfortable working with them. But I think maybe the next round we'll be more familiar with these, and maybe there'll be others that also apply that we'll work with. But I don't think we'd be in the position of asking these 5 to give us different pricing because we feel like these are the best qualified.
Right, and I think the other thing is, in the past, we primarily had, and I'm going back probably 5 or 6 years because it's changed a little bit, but we did primarily have 2 engineering firms, one for traffic and one for basically everything else. What we found at that point was we started to get, although we use them a lot, and I think they did a good job for us on a number of things, but as time went on, they also, I think, it pretty much became complacent. It started to get harder to get work done on a timely basis and those kinds of things. So, I think having on-call engineers, on staff, and the companies know that when you call, I think we're going to get a better response out of them because in order to get those projects done. So.
That's a plus.
I think it's good.
And just one final thing I will add is that when we do the scope of work, if we have, staff has before gotten scope of work and fee estimates from firms we've used in the past, and we haven't been satisfied with that, and we've asked them to go back and sharpen the pencil a little bit, because sometimes they might have a project manager at a higher rate doing something that maybe a lower level staff person can do, and we ask for those types of things.
Thank you.
Alderman Saunders.
I just have one question. How are the projects, approved, that we're going to solicit someone and then the scope of work, the dollar amount approved? Does that come to us, or is that via the budget?
For the individual, when we're getting a
For
work
instance,
order,
Right, a work order.
the staff person who's working on that particular project will ask for the work order. I believe the designated to be the city assistant city administrator.
But it's two, though. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but for instance, if it's a project that requires a traffic study, because of something we have to have done.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yes. I
And so
understand.
there may be other projects, for instance, the Board of Aldermen initiated the engineering study a number of years ago for the Helen, Cecilia flooding area. And so we initiated that study and analysis and design, actually, for the improvements that then ultimately, I think we spent $40,000 in the engineering, but then once it was completed in MSD, we demonstrated the need. MSD installed that new sewer system, so it's both.
I guess the one situation, that Brentwood traffic study that has come before public Ways and Means, first public safety, then Ways and Means, back to public safety, back to Ways and Means.
That was initiated by the board.
Right. Oh, was that, like, for instance, that study is only like 2,300 or whatever, but we didn't forward it on to the board. I mean, do you have to come for approval from the board or committee? That's where I
If
don't-
it's not in the budget, and that was not in the budget.
Okay, if it's not in the budget. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and just for, the synopsis is going to be the same for bills number 5764 through 68, so we won't need to do the synopsis again. Okay. Second reading, please.
Second reading, bill number 5764 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the city of Brentwood, Missouri and Crawford, Bunty, Braemar, CBB to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Your Honor, is it permissible to group all 4 or 5 of
No, we
these
have to
bills?
vote on each one.
Independently, okay. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. Since we're using this synopsis to cover all of the bills, the additional item is the scope of work for the projects discussed may include, but not be limited to, the following categories: streetscape, lighting, and landscape architecture, roadway, alley rehabilitation, reconstruction, including sidewalks and ADA compliance, traffic signals, parking intersections, public facilities, public buildings, public works facilities, stormwater management and low-impact development, floodplain administration, geotechnical engineering and materials testing, and surveying.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion, please.
Your Honor, I'd like to move adoption. Second.
Motion is made by Alderman Robertson, second by Alderman Nguyen, to perfect bill number 5764 into ordinance form. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5764 is now ordinance number 4436.
Thank you. First reading of bill number 5765.
First reading, bill number 5765 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the city of Brentwood, Missouri and George Butler Associates, GBA, to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Second reading, please.
Second reading, bill number 5765 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the city of Brentwood, Missouri and George Butler Associates, GBA, to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion is made by Alderman Nguyen, second by Alderman Kramer, to perfect bill number 5765 into ordinance form. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5765 is now ordinance number 4437.
First reading of bill number 5766.
First reading bill number 5766 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Grimes Consulting, Inc. to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Second reading, please.
Second reading bill number 5766 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Grimes Consulting, Inc. to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Motion, please.
So moved, Your Honor, to perfect Bill 5766.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion was made by Alderman Kramer, second by Alderman Robertson. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5766 is now ordinance number 4438.
First reading of bill number 5767.
First reading bill number 5767 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Groves Design Group LLC to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Second reading, please.
Second reading bill number 5767 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Groves Design Group LLC to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Motion, please.
So moved, Your Honor, to perfect Bill 5767 into ordinance form.
Second.
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Kramer, second by Alderwoman Bannister. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister.
Yes.
And Alderwoman Saunders.
Just into the restroom.
Bill number 5767 is now ordinance number 4439.
Thank you. First reading bill number 5768.
First reading bill number 5768 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Horner Schiffer and Inc. to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Second reading.
Second reading bill number 5768 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Horner Schiffer and Inc. to perform on-call engineering services and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion is made by Alderman Nguyen, second by Alderman Robertson to perfect bill number 5768 into ordinance form. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister.
Yes.
Bill number 5768 is now ordinance number 4440.
Thank you. First reading of bill number 5769.
First reading bill number 5769 by title only, an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan to construct a 600-square-foot addition of property number 2780 Mary Avenue, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, Bill 5769 for NV West Contracting is for an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan to construct a 600-square-foot addition to property number 2780 Mary Avenue that permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site. Petitioner proposes to construct a 600-square-foot office addition to the south end of the existing 8,694 building housing NV West Contracting. The addition is proposed to match the existing building 3 parking spaces will be lost due to the project. However, the remaining 43 parking spaces still exceed the minimum required. Property is located in the floodplain, so a floodplain development permit must be obtained prior to issuance of a building permit. Planning and zoning has recommended approval.
Thank you. And the applicant is here if anybody has any questions. Okay. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5769 by title only, an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan to construct a 600 square foot addition at property number 2780 Mary Avenue, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Motion, please.
Motion to perfect Bill 5769 into ordinance form, Your Honor.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
Motion was made by Alderman Lay, second by Alderman Robertson. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Toohey.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5769 is now ordinance number 4441.
And I don't want to speak for Larry, but when we get rid of the buildings across the street from him, I'm sure he's going to be happy about that as well. Thanks. First reading of Bill number 5770.
First reading, Bill number 5770 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and West Contracting and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Excuse me. Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Before we read the synopsis, it's important to remember this bill covers just a portion of the many streets that will be eventually taken care of by way of this project. Bill 5770, Asphalt Street and Trail Project. It's for an ordinance authorizing the mayor or city administrator of the City of Brentwood to enter into and execute an agreement between the city and West Contracting for the Asphalt Street Project, Mill and Overlay, and the Maple Trail Project. The project begins in early July and should be completed by the end of the summer, subject to weather. Public Works Committee has recommended the approval. Streets and trail projects include Lawndale Drive, Brentwood Place, Helen Avenue, and Overlay Maple Trail.
Okay. Any questions? Alderman Saunders.
Just a comment that I think in the survey, if I remember right, that when you combine least liked and the 2 bottom categories, the streets and sidewalks come in last. Yeah. So we need to pay attention to them. I know you have that inventory, and at some point, we may end up doing another obligation, a bond to take care of more of the streets more quickly, but we'll just have to see how our finances are.
Right. All right, I do have one comment. I've never heard that called Maple Trail before. That's Rogers Parkway.
Okay.
It is correct.
Huh?
It is correct.
Thank you.
Which is correct, Rogers Parkway or Maple Trail?
It's Rogers Parkway. Right, but where is Maple?
It is Maple Trail starts at the end at the inline range.
Thank you.
It goes all the way through Rogers.
Yes.
Okay, I've never seen it. I stand corrected.
No, you're sitting.
Okay, thank you. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5770 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and West Contracting and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay.
Your Honor, motion to perfect this Bill 5770 into ordinance form, please.
And second?
Second.
Motion is made by Alderman Lay, second by Alderwoman Bannister. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Toohey.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bannister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5770 is now ordinance number 4442.
Thank you. First reading Bill number 5771.
First reading, Bill number 5771 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri adopting a comprehensive fund balance policy, providing for the effective date of this ordinance and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, this was part of the review of the Ways and Means Committee, Bill 5771, Fund Balance Policy. This bill is for an ordinance adopting a fund balance policy for all the City of Brentwood's funds. The purpose of the policy is to establish a key element of the financial stability of the City of Brentwood by setting guidelines for fund balance. Goal for the minimum operating reserves, unassigned fund balance for the general fund, stormwater and park improvements, and sewer improvement funds is equal to 15% of the budgeted operating expenditures, and a balance of less than 10% causing concern, barring unusual or deliberate circumstances. If unassigned fund balances fall below the goal or has a deficiency, the city will plan to adjust the budget in the subsequent fiscal years to restore the balance. Appropriation from the unassigned fund balance, all funds shall require supermajority approval of the Board of Aldermen and shall only be for a one-time expenditure, such as extraordinary or emergency circumstances, not for ongoing expenditures unless a viable plan designated to sustain the expenditures is simultaneously adopted. The Ways and Means Committee has recommended approval of Bill 5771.
Okay. Any questions? Saunders?
Well, the Ways and Means, the vote was 3-1. I disagree. I think that when the policy in draft form was initially presented to us, the minimum was 25% and the goal 50%. And Gina, finance officer, she said that the minimum was because that's what most of the surrounding municipalities do. And I'm more comfortable with a minimum of 25%, especially in this economy and just the uncertainty that exists. I know even with individuals, it used to be that you have 6 months in savings on hand, and now that's been increased to where they recommend 8 months, the recommendation. The GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, recommends 2 months, which is like 17%. So it's within, well, I don't know that the minimum, I think that's what they want for the minimum. So our minimum is below GFOA standards. My preference would be 25%. Most of the surrounding cities have a minimum of at least 25%. I think only one actually had 25%. They were higher, but that's just my opinion.
Alderman Lay?
On page 3, under the equipment replacement reserves assigned fund balance goals, in the third line, it establishes that we will create a list that requires all city equipment can be replaced. Can we determine when that list will be created and what the useful life of the equipment will be? And will that be presented to the Ways and Means Committee?
It should be presented as part of the budget.
As part of budget, okay. Thank you.
We need to define what a supermajority is.
Excuse me?
It'd be 6 or 7 votes opposed to 6. All right.
No, it'd be 6.
6 votes
I'm
instead
sorry,
of 5.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
But it's a supermajority of the board,
Right. Of the 8.
I just want to
of the entire board.
Okay.
What if the attendance is less than 8, if the votes are less than 8? You have 7 members voting?
No, it's still...
It still requires 6 votes.
Okay.
6 votes, so supermajority of the board.
Of the full board.
Of the full board.
The quorum is 5. So a supermajority would be 4 under the 5.
No, because you still need 5 votes for an ordinance.
I will say this, it would probably be better, rather than using the term supermajority, to define that it requires a vote of 6 aldermen, much like state statute requires a vote of 5 aldermen for the passage of an ordinance.
Okay.
Then you don't have any question as to what a supermajority is.
Right.
That would eliminate the confusion.
Do you want to make that amendment to the ordinance?
Would love to make, if I may, Your Honor.
Right.
Motion to amend the ordinance that in the term supermajority be replaced with a vote of 6 affirmative votes of the sitting board.
Second.
Okay, this is for the change only. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, thank you. Do we have second reading?
No.
Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5771 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, adopting a comprehensive fund balance policy, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Your Honor, a motion to perfect the amended Bill 5771 into ordinance form.
Second.
Motion was made by Alderman Lay, seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Toohey?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
No.
Okay.
Bill number 5771 is now ordinance number 4443.
Yes.
Your Honor, if I could make a comment, one of the residents who appears not to be in the audience at this time was asking earlier, when are we going to start acting? This is one of the, I guess, outline of the policies that's recommended to the city to put into place. It's now an ordinance. Thank you.
First reading of bill number 5772, please.
First reading bill number 5772 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the amendment of the City of Brentwood's current employee handbook by eliminating the perfect attendance incentive, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Okay. Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, this is another recommendation of the audit, amongst others, Bill 5772, perfect attendance incentive, bills for an ordinance authorizing the amendment of the City of Brentwood's current employee handbook by eliminating the perfect attendance incentive for all City of Brentwood employees.
Okay. Second reading, please.
Second reading bill number 5772 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the amendment of the City of Brentwood's current employee handbook by eliminating the perfect attendance incentive, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Thank you. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion is made by Alderman Nguyen, second by Alderman Kramer to perfect bill number 5772 into ordinance form. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5772 is now ordinance number 4444.
First reading of bill number 5773.
First reading bill number 5773 by title only, an ordinance extending the temporary moratorium on certain activities in the City of Brentwood, Missouri, pending review and the update of the city's land use and related licensing and permitting regulations.
Your Honor.
Alderman Leahy.
Question is to, if we extend the moratorium, we do have food vending trucks that also participate in Madden Fest. The snow cone gentlemen, the funnel cake, and the cotton candy trucks that are down at Madden Fest. Will this prevent them from getting permits, and thus they will not be able to participate?
No. I would hope that P&Z would have gone through the process and be able to offer a recommendation back to the board prior to Madden Fest in September.
I would hope so too, but I was surprised that we have a 6 month, the 6 months wasn't enough time to get it done.
And I also think Walgreens is having an event coming up in July, and it's a fundraiser. They were wanting to have some of the food trucks there as basically to provide, to help attract people to their event. I would also, again, if we institute the moratorium, I don't have any problem with, but I also would like to make an exception for special events. So I'll turn it over to Ellen.
The ordinance actually includes a section, the bill includes a section that includes an exception specifically for Walgreens for their event.
Right.
And also for Mount Calvary, who had also requested permission to have a food truck for their upcoming special event. And both have submitted applications over the last week. So we do other applications, and the ordinance does provide for the exceptions for them.
So Madden Fest is the only one that at present has no exception pending.
But we don't
That's
have,
correct.
Yes.
But we don't normally require food truck special
We
use
have,
permits for them.
Madden Fest had a snow cone, a funnel cake, and a cotton candy truck last year.
well, I don't think that's the type of trucks we're talking about, but that's fine.
But it'll be completed before Madden Fest, the
Okay. Thank you.
regulations.
Alderman Saunders.
I was wondering, Ellen, is it reasonable to shorten the time? I know a lot of people were hoping that by the summer that this had been approved, and it's come to Public Works, and this wasn't you though, this was Lisa. And then I saw it at Planning and Zoning, and then it was sent to Site Plan or for a special committee. So there's been a lot of talk about it, and she pretty much, I thought, had it resolved. So maybe 60 days?
Well, actually, the subcommittee meeting on, I believe it was May 24th, the Planning and Zoning Commission subcommittee recommended approval of specific regulations, but they also asked us to send a letter They asked staff to send a letter to all the restaurant owners, food service owners in the city, and since then we've had some feedback that they're very concerned. So they put it on hold, and several of them actually came to the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, but because the meeting before that went over, they didn't have a chance to speak. But it's going to be on the subcommittee agenda for this week.
Okay.
So there might be some changes. And certainly, everybody on the Planning and Zoning Commission, I know they're very anxious to get this wrapped up, and it could end before 3 months. In fact, I anticipate that it would.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes, if I could just add a comment. Ellen, you may be familiar with this already. Was contacted by one of the main restaurants in our city that expressed perhaps repeated concern that the food trucks, when they are allowed, and I would never want to get in the way of commentary on planning and zoning until they're finished with their review, but pending their finish, that food trucks, if they are allowed, not be in the main business areas. They'd be restricted to, for example, parks, special events, or other areas not in direct competition with the brick and mortars.
But one of the things the Planning and Zoning Commission will be talking about at their meeting on Wednesday is a map that we had put together that shows a 200-foot radius and a 300-foot radius around all the existing restaurant businesses. It's something that the city of St. Louis does, and that's one thing that they'll be considering, but I know one other thing they've been considering is only allowing them for special events. So.
Okay, thanks. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill Number 5773 by title only, an ordinance extending the temporary moratorium on certain activities in the city of Brentwood, Missouri, pending review and the update of the city's land use and related licensing and permitting regulations.
Okay. Motion, please.
Motion to approve, Your Honor, Bill 5773 in ordinance form.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion was made by Alderman Kramer, second by Alderman Leahy. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Robertson?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tootley?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5773 is now ordinance number 4445.
Thank you. First reading, Bill number 5774.
First reading, Bill Number 5774 by title only, an ordinance enacting a new section pertaining to high grass and weeds and the obligation to maintain such vegetation, including vegetation within adjacent right-of-way.
Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, sorry, it's getting a little bit tardy in the evening here. Bill 5774, mowing in the right-of-way, is similar to the actual title of the bill. Covers an ordinance enacting a new section pertaining to the high grass and weeds and the obligation requiring property owners to mow the right-of-way adjacent to their property. Public Works has reviewed and recommends the approval of this bill 5774.
Okay. Any questions? Alderman Saunders.
This was brought forward. There's a property that along McKnight, one or maybe two along McKnight, that are close to the Yorkwood entrance, and they have that long privacy fence. I mean, each one has an individual one, so they all abut. So it's almost like a sound wall there. And the city, for like the past 25 years, I've been told, has mowed one or two of those properties. It's kind of a hazard because you have to go outside of a privacy fence, and I consider McKnight busy, but I do agree that we can't mow one property and not mow the others. So, but the problem, what happened is that we agreed to send a letter, but a letter was sent informing them that they would have to now take care of that property, but then they were cited, and that's when they kind of got upset about it and wanted to argue as to easements and so forth. But what we found out too, though, is even if we wanted to ask him to mow, there was no way of enforcing it because it's not in our code. But I think the lesson to learn is we have to be very careful before starting a practice that's not either in the code or not policy or procedure, because this person felt really wronged because it had been being done, they had their property mowed, they thought it was the city's responsibility, and then we yanked the rug out from under them. I don't know how the practice got started either.
Well, I'll tell you how the practice got started. It wasn't 25 years ago. It was just since the city installed sidewalks along McKnight. And the reason is that prior to that, those residents that had those fences and had that basically honeysuckle and those types of vegetation over on that side of the fences along McKnight didn't have to maintain them. because they were in the right-of-way, and again, it was just the way it was, and he had a number of yards like that. When we installed the sidewalk along there for better pedestrian access and safer pedestrian access, the city just started maintaining those properties. And it wasn't the right-of-way, and that's the reason the city did it. I think that's what separates cities from being governments and cities being communities. We were doing that because it benefited everybody. It wasn't something that the property owner had to maintain in the past, and it was because of the improvement that we were doing through the city by installing the sidewalks that required them to actually maintain it better, so that it didn't extend over the sidewalk. So that's how it actually started. I still think it would be in the city's interest, and I don't see anything wrong with the city actually maintaining those areas. Another one that we trim back on an annual basis a couple times a year is a vegetation that grows out over Litzinger across from McGrath. We trim that back in order to, again, for visibility of the cars driving down the roadway. But I think that's what you do in a community in order to make our community better for those major things or those things like that. When the reason that, again, going back to the sidewalk, the reason that resident had to then maintain it or was going to be required to is because we installed the sidewalk.
Can I speak? Sure. Oh, I'm happy with, as far as maintaining the community, that was my thing, is could we grandfather these individuals in? And I think that there's more of a hazard there too, though, McKnight, and the same thing too is, since it does present a sound wall, if everybody did something different out there, the city could look really kind of strange when you enter it. And this particular individual said that he may put 3 statues and a bench out on his portion. And I mean, that's what he was saying. He said he's an attorney and he could argue. So, I mean, I was all in favor of continuing to mow the property if there's a way that we can do it legally or be...
We can. We just say we want to do it. It's a right-of-way.
Well, Your Honor.
Alderman Lady.
Thank you. By using the term "you're doing the right-of-way," I also have a right-of-way between the sidewalk and the city streets on every other property in the city of Brentwood. Are we going to take on the responsibility of cutting the grass on that section for everybody in the city? We ask all of those residents that they take the time to maintain that area.
Well, again, I think we're looking at 2 different items opposed to, again, the reason they didn't have to maintain this area in the past. And when the city installed the sidewalk, that's what initiated what would become an issue. And so that's when we opted to do that. And so, again, I don't, in this instance, because of the safety improvements that we did along McKnight by installing that sidewalk, and for those of you who remember what it was like before we had a sidewalk along there, I think it's something that's a good investment by the city, and it's something that the city can do.
Well, I mean, that was my intention. Do you know what I mean? I didn't get to vote at that meeting. I wasn't there, but I just asked, is there some way, I've been talking to Jim Nommensen and Bola, if there's some way we can continue that. But again, I don't want to be in violation or of a code or practice. I think most people will take care of their right-of-way. My husband, for instance, wants to make sure that the diagonals and the mowing are all going to be in sync, but it would be a hassle to, mow your lawn and leave that patch. But in certain instances, it's true, that's to take your mower outside of that solid fence. But I wasn't familiar if that created problems over in Brentwood Forest. I don't know, but I'm happy with continuing it.
So do we need the ordinance then? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was at the Public Works meeting, and when the argument was made that everyone has a right-of-way between the sidewalk, but the difference now in thinking about it really is most people don't have to go around a fence. It's in the front of your house. So now I'm kind of rethinking this. Is there any way we could send it back to Public Works for additional discussion, or?
Sure. Because again, we can do that, but again, I just think that what made this instance, and following up on what you're saying, this was their backyard that faced McKnight Road that, again, this vegetation was always allowed to grow in the past. It was never an issue until the city put in the sidewalk. So.
Well, I move that we send Bill 5774 back to Public Works.
In the interim, what do we do?
Please mow that particular property.
Yes.
Your Honor, we just forwarded this from Public Works to this board recently. I don't know why we're going back.
I don't think we
Same
need
members
it.
that are asking for it to be sent back, I see no reason to take this back.
I don't think, I mean, again, I don't know we need an ordinance.
The board can make a decision tonight.
Right.
I think we're changing the 7
That's fine.
inches. Is that new?
Just vote, just
Just
eliminate,
vote.
just
Okay,
vote no.
that's fine. Did someone second mine? Do I have to remove my?
Well, I think what we need to do is vote on the ordinance.
But do I have to take back my motion? Did I move?
Or you could vote to remove it from one or two,
I just thought I already made a motion to send it to Public Works, did I?
but nobody seconded.
Nobody seconded.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
We're all getting tired. I wasn't catching
I'm
up
sorry.
either.
I lost.
Yes, Alderman
May I
Kramer.
ask a question? I was not able to be at the meeting. Bolo, what was the reference point for the 7 inches taken from? What does our code currently state on the height of the grass and weeds?
9.
9? So we're coming back to 7? That can happen really fast,
Yep.
especially for weeds. If someone goes on vacation, for example.
Let's just vote no. Okay. Second reading.
Second reading, bill number 5774 by title only, an ordinance enacting a new section pertaining to grass and weeds and the obligation to maintain such vegetation, including vegetation within adjacent right-of-way.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion, Your Honor, to perfect Bill 5774 into ordinance form, please.
And second.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion is made by Alderman Lay, second by Alderman Robertson. I will, again, remind everybody, you have to make a motion in the affirmative, but you can certainly vote no. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen? This is to adopt the bill.
You do not want to adopt the bill?
Yes, you do.
No. Well, okay.
I'll ask the city, may I interrupt the vote, Your Honor? City Attorney, does the city have the ability to authorize city personnel to take care of private property without being in conflict with state statute?
There's a difference between private property and rights-of-way and easements, and the city does have the ability to maintain property within its rights-of-way, consistent with its use of the right-of-way.
Right.
I want to keep that.
Thank you.
I want to keep that.
To adopt the
Voting
bill.
to require people to cut their grass in the right of way.
But it's along McKnight Road by the sidewalk that we installed up
Well,
near
but-
Highway 40.
But Pat, that's the specific case, in this case, York Drive area. But there are other city right-of-ways throughout the entire city. I'd hate to start setting a precedent till we've actually made sure that we've got it covered.
Yeah, I don't see any reason we should be cutting people's grass for them.
You know,
Okay.
I mean, I think we could be opening up a really big problem.
Well,
Okay.
I've been on this board for a while, and I tell you, there's been times when we've done things for people, probably didn't qualify exactly to the ordinance. I'm glad we did it, because we help people. Because I think that little sign down there, I say this all the time, it says City of Warmth, is what it means. And I think warmth, not that it's hot down there, but this city, when you pass that sign, you ought to be thinking, I belong to the city, where they'll go out of their way to help me. They care about what I do. And I think that's one of the greatest things we do in this city. And I'd like to see us keep on doing it. But when it comes up again, and it's another thing, we have to remember, if we're going to allow this to be done and cut here, next time it comes up, we'll have to remember that we also may need to do it in another ward for somebody else, because we care. That's my point.
Do you remember, Mr. Wynn, if I may come back to you? We had an alderman who raised a very big concern when the city reached out and helped Mount Calvary Church.
Right, and that's true, and that's fine. And I'll go with that.
And the board said it was okay.
And I'll take that criticism.
Okay.
And that's fine. If that's what we do, and we do it with a good heart, I'm willing to take that criticism
Right.
to help people.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Alderman Kramer.
I just want to, ahead of my vote, I want to let everyone know that in its present form, I cannot vote in favor of this ordinance as it's currently proposed. 7 inches is a downsize from 9 inches. If someone wanted to be strict about it, someone goes out of town, weeds grow really fast, most people's grass, I would probably say is not the case, but the weeds, that grows really quickly. 7 inches happens very fast. I don't know why we went from 9 to 7.
I don't know either.
Do you really think that if they go out and measure that to 9 inches all over your yard? I mean,
Some cities do.
Might have been at least a foot. Might have been at least a foot and a half this spring.
Would anybody be amenable to going back to what the code currently has, which is 9 inches?
Well, we have a motion
Let's just
for the...
do the
right.
motion for now.
Roll call.
Alderman
I
Nguyen.
like the discussion.
I think it's yes.
No.
Yes, I do
No.
believe it, yes.
No, you want to...
No, you want no,
I
is
want
what you
no.
said. If you want to help.
Whatever. I'll change something.
If you want to be able to continue to do this, you have
I
to
want to
vote
be
no.
able to continue to do what they're doing.
Vote no.
Vote no.
No.
The city will be able to do it regardless if they want to. I'm going to vote yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
No.
Alderman Tui.
No.
Alderman Lay.
Yes.
Alderman Manister.
No.
Alderwoman Saunders.
No.
We have a lot of people asking for their grass to be cut tomorrow.
No, I don't think so.
Just the right of way.
Well, and again, I think you have to look at other circumstances, so, okay. First reading of, oh, I'm sorry. You give us the ordinance number?
There isn't. It failed.
Oh, it failed, I'm sorry, you're right. Bill number 5775, please.
First reading bill number 5775 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute an agreement between the city of Brentwood, Missouri and Sinorama for the park signage project and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, this was the topic of previous bid discussion, Bill 5775, the park signage project. It's for an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Brentwood and/or the city administrator to execute an agreement between the city of Brentwood and Sinorama for the park signage project. The park signage project consists of the fabrication of 43 park signs located in Memorial Park, Hanley Park, Broughton Park, and Rogers Parkway. This project is part of the municipal park grant that the department received last year. This project begins in early July and should be completed by the end of this summer. Funding for the project is included in the full year 2013 fiscal budget, estimated to be $34,000, half of which will be reimbursed by the park grant. Low bid is $22,361 for Sinorama. Public Works recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Second reading of bill number 5775, please.
Second reading bill number 5775 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute an agreement between the city of Brentwood, Missouri and Sinorama for the park signage project and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Any questions? Motion?
I'll move for adoption, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Motion is made by Alderman Robertson, second by Alderman Manister to perfect bill number 5775 into ordinance form. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Robertson.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5775 is now ordinance number 4446.
Thank you. Next item, item 10, accounts against the city. Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your
Welcome
Honor.
back.
Thank you so much. I have before you a giant warrant list, which has been reviewed and questions answered. Pending any further, I have a recommendation for approval of the June 24th, 2013 warrant list in the amount of $282,569.70. Do
we have a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Are we any closer on the meridian? Still another 5,000?
Not that I'm
No.
aware of.
No,
We haven't
you're
had
not.
any changes since the last update.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor of approving the warrant list as submitted, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Next item, reports of committee and department heads. I have a few items under the mayor's report. First of all, the organization that has, in bulleted do you remember their technical name? The memorial organization?
Veterans Memorial?
The group that's doing the Veterans Memorial over, again, it's Brentwood, Richmond Heights, and a couple other communities, I think even Shrewsbury. But they have asked if they could put a sign out in front of Walgreens on a temporary basis. Just it will say, help build the Veterans Memorial, donate, and it'll have their website and their phone number on there, or donate to, and their website and phone number on there. And they're asking if they could put that out there. For those of you that don't know, the city actually owns a piece of that property. That's why we can do that. And we've done that for other organizations in the past, like Brentwood High School and those kinds of things. So it's a great project that they're undertaking. They are about $60,000 short of their...
About 40.
40 of them. What's their goal? It's a couple $100,000.
Right.
Yeah, so they're well on their way, but they want to get some more money. And Alderman Nguyen?
When they had that meeting over at the Heights,
Right.
I was able to go, represent Brentwood, and it was really a wonderful meeting. And also, they're selling bricks that you can put your name of
Right.
your veteran on, and you pay for that. I know my wife's getting a couple of those. But it was really impressive. I thought they did. I'd like to see us really get behind it.
Yeah, they've actually had the groundbreaking over there. And we do have a Brentwood resident that has volunteered to be on their committee. And Jack Bach has been participating as well. So, does anybody have any problems with that? Alderman Lee?
Motion to allow the informative sign and solicitation on city property at the corner of Brentwood and Litzinger.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's by Alderman Lay, seconded by Alderman Saunders and Nguyen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I also wanted to schedule a date for we will set a time limit, but for a budget workshop for the Board of Aldermen. We need to start that process. The primary goal of this workshop is really to formalize and have a presentation by staff of some of our projected budget items going forward, into our 5-year plan, so that we can start to prioritize and understand what's already in there, so that there isn't any confusion going forward with some of those capital expenditures. So it's really to go over that part of the budget. So do we want to pick some dates? Did you have anything in mind, date-wise?
Gina, should it be July or August?
I would. Would the first or the last part of July be better?
Last part of July.
Okay, how about the last week of July? And how about, actually, Tuesday is a good night at City Hall.
No, it isn't. Ward 3 already has the
You're
room.
right, I'm sorry. We could do it before your meeting.
Start at 7.
We could do it at 6 o'clock on Tuesday.
Come tomorrow night.
It's a workshop meeting.
July 30th?
Yes. Is that July 30th? Thank
Yes.
you.
At 6?
6 o'clock.
30th.
And it'll be from 6 till 7.
Okay.
Budget workshop.
Are we also working on the code? What is that?
Oh, we need to do that.
Yeah,
too.
same, right?
Ooh, that
Let's
would
bring
be
that up
much,
next
much
meeting.
longer.
Yeah, we need to schedule that meeting for the recodification meeting. Okay. One last item under the mayor's report. We did submit bid proposals for companies to come in and do an evaluation of our internal controls. We had 6 applicants, or 6 proposals back in. Staff has ranked those based on their qualifications and their bid proposals. They are still at this point going back to check on their references, and then would like to then interview the top 3 prospects, and then make a recommendation back to the board. So I just wanted to update everybody what's going on with that process at this point. And hopefully maybe that could be done by our next meeting on the 15th. So, Alderman Saunders.
Did we get some input in evaluating those bids like Len Ashbach had said, get somebody that's very familiar. Can he look at it, or did his company bid?
Is his company,
I don't know the
is
name
his
of his
company
company.
BKD, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it
they
is.
bid.
I think it is.
Yeah, so they actually bid on it.
I think they bid on it.
Pardon me, they bid on it?
They did bid on it, right.
Okay.
Yep. So, okay, and then that's all I have under the mayor's report. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I forgot to do
Mayor
this.
Keller?
Yes.
Also, consideration of meeting dates for the recodification.
Oh,
That's what we're,
yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Jim wants to talk about that next meeting.
Well, we need to set another meeting date. It would have to be that first week of August, I guess.
For
Or
what?
possibly 5.
The code.
And then you go into the community circle.
Well, if we want to do it, that would be fine. If we wanted, could we meet at 5 on the 30th? In the first hour, talk about the recodification, the second hour, the update on,
And this is just for the planning and zoning sections?
That would be the first item.
First
Yeah.
night, okay, thank you.
all right?
So 5?
5 o'clock on the 30th.
What?
Okay. But we do have a time limit, so.
Yeah, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and 7 till midnight.
No, that's for you. Okay. One last item on the committee. I do have my committee appointments. There really aren't any changes. You will notice the library board, I tried to talk to Vicki today. They still didn't have their updates yet, but, yeah, and for some reason I don't see the communications committee on here.
They haven't met.
I thought we
since
removed it.
20, exactly,
Right,
since
we
2011.
removed that committee.
Right.
Yeah.
We had, you were the chair.
The only new addition is a resident, Kathy O'Neill, has been appointed as an alternate to the Board of Adjustment because we need an alternate there. We will need another member to Planning and Zoning. I have a couple residents that have submitted interest in doing that. So we'll be having another appointment with that shortly as well.
You have a retirement from P&Z.
Yes, John Geppert is decided to step down from P&Z after 23 years. So we appreciate his service. Alderman Saunders.
The appointments, can we had talked about this in one of the committee meetings, but start trying to maybe reach out and get some new residents and some new vision, because a lot of the individuals have been on the committee for a long time, and we appreciate their help, we're not saying that, but just to start seeing if there's some new.
And I have done that in the past, and we did actually put a form on the website that people can go and send those in. I've requested that in the newsletter in the past, or reminded people that if they're interested in serving on a committee, to forward that to the city or myself. And I'll be quite frank, sometimes it's very difficult to get people to want to volunteer for these subcommittees, but we're always open if people are interested, because there's usually a spot somewhere.
I've been going to the library committee for a long time, and they have changed a lot. Those
Oh,
people
they
are
have
very-
turned.
They do a very good job, and the people they get are very good. At least sitting with them, they seem very knowledgeable about what they're doing,
Right.
and they like what they're doing.
Right.
The library has term limits, and they didn't follow them before, but now they are. And I think it's kind of a good, just to get, but like you say, if you can't fill the positions, that's another problem. But perhaps if we're talking to individuals, we should have them contact the city just to be put on a list, that if we
Yes,
think they will be.
absolutely.
on the
That's what we have.
website,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
There's a community volunteer interest.
Thank you.
So if I get a motion to approve the committee list for 2013.
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public Safety Committee, anything further?
We're going to have a meeting first, well, we'll have a meeting coming up within the next week or so, yeah.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Alderman Kramer.
if I could make one of the Public Safety Committee topics that has come up recently, it's important for us to bring that topic up as an advertisement. The city is very fortunate to have our Code Red program in place. We have a new program for neighborhood safety. Public Safety Committee worked with our police department, who came up with quite a program that's used in other parts of our nation. Assistant Chief Fitzgerald brought the Next Door program to our city. So you're invited to go join at nextdoor.com. And it's basically a neighborhood by neighborhood community watch. An opportunity for those folks in your neighborhood that you may not be aware of, live near you, or may not know them, to co-op and work together and be aware of announcements from the city in terms of safety and or things that are happening in your community that would be of interest to your neighbors, including mundane things such as gatherings or social events. Once again, it's nextdoor.com. Real easy to sign up, and it's a very, very worthwhile program, and it has worked wonders across other parts of the country. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Public Works Committee?
I just have a question. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, so can you summarize, either Keith or Alderman Kramer, the permit situation that was presented there? I just wasn't able to attend regarding Brentwood Forest.
Permit.
The decks.
The decks.
Oh, that's Public Works.
Well, he just asked Public Works, so I'm asking that question.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
About permitting for decks? Was there some discussion?
Ellen can speak to that. Ellen, the fence.
Ellen?
No.
See, being your last meeting, we're trying to make this as long as we can. Make it come up as many times.
Sorry.
Just want a little bit of the history?
Yeah, or just, where
Well,
does it stand? Is it coming to us?
The recommendation was to go, or the Public Works Committee voted to go with staff's recommendation to have reduced fees for, or set fees for Brentwood Forest deck permits. It would be $55 for, pardon me?
50.
Thank you. $50 for deck repair that includes structural components, and $75 for a new deck.
Okay. And what did we do in the past?
It would have been, well, actually, they have not come to the city for permits.
Okay.
So this was just to correct that, and they've been very cooperative with us. And as part of that, we'll bring an updated fee table, I believe, to the July meeting.
Okay.
That will include these special fees for Brentwood Forest.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ways and Means, Alderman Kramer?
Yes, Your Honor. Next meeting is coming up July 17th, 6:30 over at City Hall.
Okay. City Attorney?
No report, Your Honor.
City Administrator?
No report, Your Honor.
We did Excise Commissioner. Library? Municipal League, nothing to report. Communications? Actually, I will say one thing on the Municipal League, and this is more in general. One of the things the state has initiated this year, which I think, again, I've talked about this a number of times, but it's really getting to this level. The state has initiated to form a committee to hire a company to look at the sales tax distribution in St. Louis County, as well as basically the structure of St. Louis County. The fearful part of this is that this is being done at the state level now, not being initiated by our representatives, but really being initiated by outstate representatives, basically being at the request of our community activist, in my opinion, Rex Zinkfeld, and with his deep pockets and endless deep pockets. The concern you have, and one of the reasons the city, we talk about our general fund reserves and the amount of money we have in general fund. Right now, because of the redistribution of the sales tax, last year we gave out of our general fund revenues, because of the distribution that is in place through St. Louis County, they took over $1.2 million, I believe. Is that correct?
That's close.
Right. Over $1.2 million out of our general fund sales tax that went into that pool. But the concern is that St. Louis County would actually like to take the entire 1 cent and distribute it by population throughout St. Louis County, which would even reduce that amount for us a lot less. So my point is that we as residents and elected officials need to pay attention on what's going on at the state. The firm that they're going to hire is supposed to do this entire analysis on a 3-month period before they go back into session in the fall. Again, I don't know what we can do about it at this point, but people should pay attention to what's going on at the state level because it could have huge effects on us as residents and communities in St. Louis County. So, I'm sorry. Communications?
No report.
Historical Society? Yeah. Okay. Any unfinished business? No closed meeting. Any unfinished business?
Your Honor, I don't know if it's unfinished or new business, but I may have a conflict with like the July 15th meeting.
Okay.
Scheduled, and I do want to be here for the Boys and Girls Club. I said I may have a conflict with the July 5th meeting.
15.
July 15th, yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we need to vote on that night, the Boys Hope, Girls Hope project, or not. I don't want to miss the vote.
I mean, I don't know. I would hope that maybe you could be here, but
It's a family vacation.
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can change the meeting at this point, but because we have a public hearing, don't we? Later.
Same date.
They've got,
8.
Okay. I will actually be gone the following week,
they have contingency contracts.
yeah, but I don't know what those dates are. So we will. I don't know what to do at this point with that.
We want to move it up a week, July 8th? Or?
Well, they need to have a public hearing, so we would have to have notices.
I think Ellen just said there's time for.
Well, she's looking, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, that's 3 weeks away.
I don't know Anthony's schedule either.
Notices have to be 15 days out.
Okay.
Why don't we look at the dates and send it
No.
to the board? You want to
You
do it
couldn't-
tonight?
You wouldn't get it out in time, Ellen says. So. Okay.
The later date.
Huh? Oh, it could be.
I'm not in town.
And either.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. New business?
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
The Ward 3 meeting for the month of June is tomorrow night, the 25th, at City Hall at 7 p.m. All are invited. Thank you, Your Honor. Oh, may I also?
Yes.
If you've caught or watched the paper this morning, they had, in the Post, they had an article on the dangers of fireworks because of a 10-year-old boy losing 4 of his fingers with the fireworks. 4th of July is coming up. Please, use some caution, supervision, but do it with safety because they're very unforgiving. But enjoy the 4th.
Item 14 here, of any matters of any person
I have
present?
something
I'm
under
sorry.
new business, I'm sorry. My ward meeting is on July 9th, but would you not put it on the calendar yet? I'm going to put out an email and see if individuals are interested, you know, with summer vacations and stuff. So can I let you see what response? Would that be okay, Bola? Okay, and then also, Alderman, if we keep it at the 15th, Alderman Robertson, if you could perhaps write your opinion up, like Alderman Kramer did when he left for,
I'm not going to allow that vote to go past without me voting.
oh, okay.
I don't think that's right.
He would like to be here to vote, is what he said. So we may have to, we could see with them if they can postpone to the next meeting. Tentatively, let's see if I can find a calendar here.
We need to check Anthony's too, though, since,
Right.
August 18th?
No, not that late. I'm trying to
It's
see
the
what
third
would be,
Monday.
what would be the first Monday in August.
No, it's the 3rd Monday.
I know what would be. That's what I was trying to get
I
at.
think the 5th,
the 5th.
and 19th.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would, is everybody available on the 5th?
Slight chance of me not.
Special meeting, are we talking about a special?
Yeah, it'd be a special meeting
Which
on
month?
August the 5th.
Yeah. I'm available.
We can meet August 7th and not have to meet the rest of August. That would be all super wonderful.
Well, what about Monday, July 29th?
I can't on the 29th.
You can't, okay.
I can't do that, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's the issue.
We have no idea about Anthony's schedule.
Well, let's tentatively, if the petitioners can, again, I don't know what their contracts say, but if they are willing to move it to the 5th, and we'll ask Alderman Harper if he's available too, it's okay with everybody here, right, that date? Okay.
Yep.
The 5th of August, Monday.
And then we're still going to meet on the.
Yeah, and that's our regular meeting, right? That's
19th.
our regular board
19th?
meeting.
No, we can decide that.
Your Honor, I'll have to see if I get someone to cover what we have to.
Okay. All right. Well, we will do that.
Isn't that our regular board meeting? We're on summer
Not in
schedule.
August.
Summer
It would,
schedule.
it would be a special one because it's, yeah, we only have one.
Okay, so we only have one meeting in June, July, and August?
Yes.
Oh, I was
And
just wondering.
September.
Okay, oh, really?
Well, the first Monday is a holiday.
Okay. All right, so we'll do that. Thank you. Okay, if anybody would like to address the board, please come forward and give us your name and address.
John Nurnberger, 2925 Carler. Everybody knows I'm on P&Z Commission, and I had some comments I would like to make. I really support the Boys Girls Hope project. I live 3 blocks from the site. I believe in their mission, their proposal, and welcome their decision to make Brentwood their home. I voted in favor of having this proposal go forward to use this site because I believe it's a good use for the site. I would ask if you choose not to support this application, that you get up on camera, as I am today, and tell the citizens exactly why you would turn down a $3.5 billion improvement for this site that has been underdeveloped for many, countless years, bringing 20 jobs to our city, plus giving an opportunity for a safe home for 20 high-achieving young people. Put aside any of the current issues that you may have in the past between the mayor and the board trying to get the operations of the city on track and support a nonprofit organization that we can be proud to say we welcome into the city of warmth. There's been some on the patch. Somebody saying that there was favors done by people on the commissions. There was no favors done by anybody that I know of for any reason. The applicant, Boys Girls Hope, has met every obstacle for variances with a solution or adjustment to the plan, and the site had a lot of problems, especially a sinkhole. I really am disheartened by some of the comments that Brentwood residents, like, it's a great program, but not on my street or other places. It's fine for other places. Those attitudes are really outdated, and I would love to have them on my street. They just happen to have picked Madge because the properties were available. The last thing I would say is I have a couple of questions. What would become of the street if the proposals are not approved? Is the city going to buy the lots and pick up the properties and plant a tree garden as suggested? The last thing I would say is There's 2 homes, this is on another subject entirely. There's 2 homes that were taken down at the corner of Calder and Pendleton, and the 3rd one came down today under permit. Is anybody concerned about what's going on there, or is it not a problem because it's zoned already commercial? 3 homes were taken down without a plan. What is the economic loss to the city in Ward 3 for that area? I would like to know what improvements are planned by Bomarito that owns that property. If you know, and do you know anything that was happening at that site in the future or since then? So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Your Honor, and members of the board and the audience, I just wanted to say I heard earlier in the evening when Alderwoman Saunders asked who was responsible for the PA set. The responsibility lies by the suggestion of your city administrator, Ms. Bola Conde, and I arranged for the acquisition of it. I just wanted to clarify that. It was all her doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Bola.
My name is Tom Martin, and I live at, if I could keep this thing from moving away, 78 York Drive. I'm going to call briefly to a subject that's near and dear to all of your hearts, the state audit. Mr. Mayor, I noticed in your recent newsletter that your message to the residents, which is signed by you, you devoted the first paragraph to talking about the state audit. My first question is this the only notice given out to residents in their entirety as to what happened with the audit and the subject of the audit? Was this the first notice people got?
That was my newsletter, or my paragraph in the newsletter. I don't know what your question.
Well, were there previous notices sent out?
Well, yeah, there were notices sent out about the audit review and telling people the date when it was presented. I guess I don't understand what you're getting at.
I'm getting at this, that you've devoted 7.5 lines to a subject which I would think would have been one of the most critical, significant, and important issues that this city has faced in many years, the state audit, and particularly the fact that the results of the state audit came back so unfavorable to the city. And so you devoted 7.5 lines to talking about that. And if you read these 7.5 lines, people will wonder, well, what did the audit say? Because this doesn't tell them. This doesn't tell them anything except there's some issues maybe you'll address, and any deficiencies may be addressed, and that sort of thing. But the state audit was composed of 22 pages of very detailed criticisms of 12 areas of city governance, and it was capped by a sheet which is called Citizen Summary, a 2-page sheet which summarized each of those 12 areas of deficiency, and which ended up saying that overall the city received the lowest possible grade of poor that it could possibly have achieved. So my question to you is, when you sent this message out the other day, or whenever you wrote it, I'm assuming you wrote it maybe with some help. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I did it all by myself.
All by yourself, okay. But you say nothing about the fact that this audit was critical of the city, that it pointed out these deficiencies, and specifically, you say absolutely nothing about the fact that the city was given the poorest possible rating. So I'm wondering if you think that this was a fair disclosure, an adequate disclosure to the residents of this city about what this audit revealed. When you read this 7.5 lines, it sounds like to me You were trying to cover up the fact that the city got a very poor recommendation and grade. And probably many people in this city do not read the Post-Dispatch and had no knowledge of this audit until they see your message. And those who chose to read it still learn nothing about the fact of the poor audit. So I'd like you to explain if you think it was a fair and adequate disclosure.
Yes.
You do? Okay. Do you have a copy of it in front of you by any chance?
No, I wrote it.
But you don't have a copy there. All right, the last sentence I want to call your attention to, and you say here, we will also establish a process for reviewing the internal controls as we move forward to ensure that we continue to maintain best practices in all aspects of our financial monitoring and reporting. The key words here is we continue to maintain best practices. What's the basis for that kind of statement, that you have been maintaining best practices? The audit says that in 12 critical areas of governance, it was poor practice. So why are you telling the residents that you've been maintaining best practices?
I don't think if you interpret it your way, that's fine. I interpret it as we hire this firm to review and go over that going forward we will maintain best practices.
Well, the words say continue to maintain best practices, which will lead...
What is this? Well, let's not get into an English debate.
Which will
you don't
lead,
like what I wrote. I like what I wrote. Thank you.
It's not that I don't like what you wrote. I think what you wrote is misleading, deceptive, and bordering on a flat-out lie.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I think.
Susan Ryan, 9324 Pine Avenue. I wanted to come up here and thank Mr. Gebert for his service as well. I can tell the citizens of Madge that they have been given an opportunity to speak their mind, to be heard, to be considered. I think that the P&Z does an excellent job of customer service consideration for the citizen. They are inclusive, and they try very hard to bring the best project of design to Brentwood. It's been very interesting. The first time I stood in front of P&Z, because I had stood in front of the ARB several times, and I can tell you that the difference is amazing. And I think that there needs to be a greater citizen consideration for the design of the homes built within Brentwood. But I want to thank Mr. Gebert. I think that we all owe him a debt of gratitude for the amount of commercial efforts that have come here. I want to thank Ellen as well. My experience has been anything but pleasant and unfortunate, but I do believe that over the course of some individuals' support to try and help me, she stood out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll close public comment. You have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.